Hello and welcome to Next Level ERP, Why You Need Dynamics 365 Finance. This is an encore presentation of material we presented back in the fall, and it turned out to be an extremely popular topic among the markets we serve. So we have expanded this material to speak to interested members of these sectors: state and local government, federal government, tribal government, and commercial businesses. I would like to introduce our speakers for today. First up is our own Matt Borkowski, Principal Solution Architect for ERP Solutions. Many of you on this call already know Matt, as he has been an integral part of our team for the past 16 years. Joining Matt is Xochitl Ramos, Financial Controller at Santa Rosa Rancheria. Xochitl and our team recently implemented Dynamics 365 Finance, so she has firsthand knowledge of what it takes to go live on this powerful application. With that, I turn the presentation over to Matt.
All right, well, thank you, Joanne, and thanks for joining us today, Xochitl. I'm excited to be presenting with you and talking to our webinar attendees here about Dynamics 365 Finance.
So thank you for inviting me.
You bet, glad to have you. So why don't we go ahead and dive in? So for today, we'll be following the agenda right here. We're going to start with just kind of presenting why Arctic IT is a subject matter expert and kind of what we bring along with the solution beyond just the application itself. And then we'll spend most of our time diving into the Dynamics 365 platform, the application with Dynamics 365 Finance, understanding all what that means. And then Xochitl is going to give us a little bit of background in what that's meant for her and the Santa Rosa Rancheria. So really looking forward to getting some insights from her and what this journey has been like for her and the team there. And then as time allows, just showcase a few of my favorite features in the system, just to give you a little sneak peek of that and allow some time for Q&A at the end today. So with that, let's dive in. At Arctic IT, we know that technology is paramount to helping our organizations use the best tools available out there. But technology is only part of the solution. Working with the right partner to help not only make the best implementation choices and help you all make the right choices for the technology to fit your needs, but then to help you make best use of the investments that you make going forward. So our goal is not only just to help you choose the right technology for your organization, but then to be your partner to help you make best use of that for the entire life of that technology throughout your organization. And why Arctic IT is that right partner is that we deliver innovative and secure cloud solutions. We're laser focused on helping our customers make the best use of the Microsoft Cloud. And with that, we have developed that proven approach in working in the dynamic space for well over 20 years as an organization, building that depth of expertise as a Microsoft Gold partner with the highest level of competencies out there, and just the depth of experience in working with the various industries in which we serve to help our customers make the best use of that. But we don't stop once the system is in place. We have state-of-the-art teams providing ongoing what we call our Arctic Ascend services to make sure that for the life cycle of your solutions, of your technology in place, that your team is trained and using the best of the new features available and keeping everything up to date on the latest versions of the Microsoft Cloud and all the features that brings along to ensure that your investment is a solid investment for many, many years to come. And we are very proud of our heritage. Being owned by the Doyon Alaska Native Corporation allows us to maintain that SBA 8A certified A and C designation so that we can help sometimes streamline the procurement process with our customers while taking the best of what we do and providing economic opportunities for our Doyon Alaska tribal members. So very proud of that and proud to be working with similar organizations around the country. And where we work, as Joanne talked about at the beginning, we have depths of expertise across various industries out there. And these first three here, really involve a lot in the government space, whether we're talking about federal government agencies and quasi-federal agencies, as well as working with various state, county, city municipalities in Alaska and around the country. And then a lot of our work, a lot of my personal history is in that tribal government, tribal for-profit enterprise, gaming enterprises, just helping helping make the best use of the resources for our tribal government customers and help bring in those economic opportunities from their enterprises for their members. And then in the commercial space as well, that the for-profit businesses can continue to make the best use of the Microsoft technology out there to really improve their operations and financial capabilities in their organizations. And a lot of that starts again with the overarching partnership. That idea that when you're picking the right technology, you also need to have the right team to help you make the best use of that, not only for the implementation side of that and the go live support, for things like Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform, as we'll talk about today, but even beyond that, your M365, your Microsoft, formerly Office 365, your online business productivity suites from Microsoft, and then the cloud architecture as its whole in Microsoft Azure. There's so many services and features of the Microsoft Cloud. And then we're also happy to announce our partnership with ServiceNow. So where there are other aspects like IT service management or other areas where a solution like ServiceNow deployed through the Microsoft Azure Cloud, being able to help our customers utilize the best of that technology. As we said, not just up front, getting the implementation and the solutions in place, but then after that, being able to provide the highest level of cloud managed services, the highest level of security, and those just ongoing application managed services. Because there's so much to know and learn to truly make the best use of that. So allowing our team to take the brunt of that work, to allow our customers team to really enable their IT resources to be able to provide value added aspects. And now when you have access to all kinds of great data, being able to work on reports and workflows and things that are a lot more fun than just making sure things are up to date, right? Allow our team to make best use of that to allow your team to do their most value added work possible. But with that, we're excited today to spend the vast majority of our time discussing the Dynamics 365 finance application. Now, when we look at why implement modern technology, right, there are a number of reasons out there, but here are a number of things that continue to come up. That across industries and across organizations, these challenges are really forcing so many folks out there to take a look at a modern application, and beyond a single application, just the overall product suite, so they can bridge the gaps that have been part of legacy technology for so long. And a lot of that starts really at that cross-departmental collaboration, right? You no longer want to have each department kind of operating as their own silo with data that is just for that department that could really provide beneficial, help provide beneficial services by collaborating with that data where it makes sense to be able to share that while keeping confidential what you need as well. But then being able to just bridge those gaps with a common modern platform so that the data, which is such an asset for our customers and for all organizations these days, to really unlock that to just help the organization as a whole, rather than each team or each department kind of holding on to their own silo of data. And there's digital service expectations, especially with the younger generations and the tribal government side, dealing with and connecting with our tribal youth, or those that are just finishing college and trying to attract the best employees out there. There's a much greater increased level of expectations for our citizens, for our employees, for our customers and vendors to be able to interact with us as organizations in a digital way, wanting to be able to, for our employees, be able to get their own reports when they need it, be able to access the information when they need without having to request it from 3 or 4 different people and getting that report that they need 2-3 days later. Right, for our customers and tribal members, being able to submit service requests and follow those service requests and receive the services that they need, from the devices that they're used to using, from locations they're used to using. Right, my teenage daughter, I don't think has ever been into a bank, but she's had her own bank account for years, and being able to interact and do all that stuff, they expect those same level of services for their governments, for their employers going forward. So being on that platform, being able to provide that level of service is key in the success of business operations going forward. And then automating those processes for our staff, right? And We don't want our employees or our team members having to run around to find what they need, to track someone down, to get that copy of a report or submit a request that they need. And we don't just want to do it through email, right? And we also don't know when our staff is going to be able to be at home or be in the office or collaborating in person versus needing to do so remotely. So using platforms that allow you to do all of that electronically, efficiently, and track where it is along the process is now a must with modern technology. And just understanding that the way that we work has changed, right? So we know that not all organizations and all technology within an organization can be a one-stop shop, right? You're going to have maybe the best of your human resources and payroll solutions out there. You might still have some on-premise, very specific business applications that you need to maintain because they still provide so much value, but also have some cloud solutions as well, being able to connect those to work with each other as they need, and then providing that opportunity, as we are talking about, for your employees, your staff, and your constituents and customers to be able to interact with you in that hybrid way, whether that's in person, whether that's remotely, or any combination of those throughout your services, wanting to ensure that that's available to the people that need it, when they need it, where they need it. And those factors, those operational challenges, really cannot be met with legacy applications. And that's why we are so excited and have become laser focused on the Microsoft Cloud. So when you're looking at a new financial system, when you're looking at an ERP, right, I like to use the analogy of building a house, right? If you are at that stage in life where you're going to be building a new home, before you even start the home, and if that home is your financial system, you want to pick your city. You want to pick the neighborhood, right? You want to make sure that where you're going to be living is a safe place to live and provides the utilities and services that your family needs, right? And Microsoft Azure, the Microsoft Cloud, really is that neighborhood in the ERP space. The Azure is kind of that gated community that provides world-leading cybersecurity protections, while achieving the highest levels of compliance standards to ensure that you are in a safe community that provides all the functionality that you need for building your home, in this case, the ERP. And then from there, you want to make sure that the police department, the safety, the utilities, and everything is there. And that's where Microsoft's Digital Crimes Unit and Cyber Defense Operations Center really is world leading and interacts with the FBI and foreign authorities to not only help keep the bad actors out, but to actually find them and prosecute them. So they know and learn that it is going after Microsoft is a losing operation. But beyond the safety of the community itself, right? You want to ensure that your common areas are perfectly manicured with and fresh with up-to-date utilities. And that's where being on that continuous operations, that one version lifecycle services. Gone are the days of wanting to implement an ERP and then 3 years later upgrade it, and then 3 years later, budget for another capital expenditure to go ahead and upgrade it and buy new servers and deployments and more data storage for the increased usage of that going forward. Being on a cloud operation like Microsoft Dynamics 365 ensures that you're on the latest version. It ensures that as your needs grow, the system can grow with you. Need more storage? Well, it's automatically there in the cloud. You need less? You only have to pay for what you need, right? So really helping you be part of that. But then also connecting you with the rest of the community, right? We know that your ERP is not going to be the only technology in use at your organization. Just like where you live, your neighborhood isn't going to have everything that you need, right? You need to be able to connect with your other technology seamlessly and with a number of different options. Whether you're connecting with a legacy system that's just giving you file formats to be able to import, or whether you're connecting with something a little more modern that has APIs and other tools that you can connect with Dynamics 365 and the Azure platform to be able to seamlessly share the information that is necessary to really help improve your operations while keeping secure and confidential the data that needs to stay just in individual applications. Right. But then you get to the idea of if you were responsible for maintaining all of the homes in the neighborhood, the yards, that sort of stuff, you would want things to be as standardized as possible, so you aren't having to learn new features, new functions, weird things about each individual home, right? In the IT world, it's the same. When you are having to support and work through and understand different applications, the more seamless that is, the more consistent those are, the easier it becomes to do that and to do it well and secure. That's where Dynamics 365, utilizing Active Directory as that single sign-on, secure authentication method, allows your team to control access to not only the parts and pieces of the financial system that you need, but also the rest of your network and other resources, so that they're not having to maintain multiple users, different types of passwords, and going through all that. They can have all of that security and control in one place, so that if they establish a rule that says, look, you can't log into your email system from outside of the country, well, that same control is going to automatically be inherited in the ERP as well, because it is utilizing those same control rules and access through Azure Active Directory, allowing you to grant the access that is necessary to be efficient, but then also to make sure that you're providing that security and controls all in one place, making your IT operations that much easier, and again, freeing them up to be able to do the more fun stuff, like getting into data analytics and reporting and workflows, and really improving the lives of your employees and your constituents, rather than just making sure things are up to date and secure. But specifically for today, as we've talked about the application as the platform and Microsoft Cloud as a whole, because that is such an important part, at some point you got to build that home, right? You've got your neighborhood, you've got everything in there, and that home that we're focused on today is Dynamics 365 Finance. Now, Dynamics 365 as a product name is Microsoft's brand name for their cloud business applications, right? So yes, finance and supply chain management is kind of the main application we're talking about today. But along with that, Microsoft in the Dynamics 365 suite of applications has available things like commerce for full retail, e-commerce, full operations at a very enterprise scale for point of sale and retail applications, right? But then bringing in the power of artificial intelligence, field service, to be able to manage if you're having to dispatch people out to work on things, you track what's on their truck, keep use of all that, bring that information back. That's with the field service. And the customer service tools and the marketing and the sales and really customer relationship management platform of Dynamics 365 is very powerful, to the point that we've built our own tools on top of that for a lot of the industries in which we work. And in the tribal government side, we've got our tribal platforms, things like enrollment, family wellness, courts, housing, education. For our state and local governments, we've got the GovCase for case management, for health and human services and other areas that are so important in that municipality space. Being able, as well as bringing in project automation for maybe for federal contracting agencies or other folks that are working with like a federal contracting or other project service automation places like Arctic IT, and is doing project work out for our customers. Truly having a lot of different applications available, all utilizing that same product line, so that you can share data across those applications and really break down those data silos where it makes sense. Before today, the Dynamics 365 Finance really is what we're drilling down into. And with that, while it is called finance, it is more than just finance. That application as a whole is a very robust enterprise ERP, including things like project management and accounting and cost counting and management. You can even get into things like manufacturing and inventory and warehouse, pick, pack, ship, supply chain management, as well as maybe just managing internal inventory for consumables or other things that you're buying in bulk for your governments or other organizations, and providing the best of tools out there with Power BI for reporting and analytics, and then managing your sales and your receivables and your procurement and the whole life cycle of your financial management and the operations that really extend out from that as part of that Dynamics 365 Finance. Sometimes I'll call it D365, sometimes I'll just call it Finance, but what we are talking about today is the Dynamics 365 Finance. And again, the application itself is beyond just the financial functionality it provides, but because of the solution that's there and the platform that it's on, it allows you to enable your employees to access and use the system regardless of form factor. Right, I typically use it on my laptop utilizing Google Chrome. You don't have to use Microsoft browsers to access it. You can use it via Safari or other tools. So on various form factors, including tablets and phones, it works great. There's also an iOS and Android app for a lot of the approvals and other workspaces that you decide to enable via the mobile app as well. And while we've talked about the power of the Microsoft platform as a whole, beyond that is what we call the Power Platform. And those are the integrated tools in the Microsoft Cloud for things like Power BI, which does provide state-of-the-art analytics and dashboarding reporting. We'll see a little bit of an example of that later on today. Let's say there are workflows that would really impact your organization that need to exist outside of just your financial system. Maybe starting something right from inside of Excel or Outlook and routing through and connecting with other systems to gather some data that then brings in and ends up as a transaction inside of Dynamics 365. That's what the Microsoft Power Automate tool allows you to do, is to build workflows that extend your financial system to be able to interact with other applications and people outside of just those that access the financial system. And Microsoft Power Apps, which allows you to create little bits of little tools and applications to extend your financial system for a functionality that's not there without having to write a single line of code. Being able to use drag and drop features to build out a form, create transactions inside of Dynamics 365 for purpose-built reasons utilizing an app. Common use for that might be something like being able to go out and take pictures of your assets out in the field when you're doing a fixed asset inventory count. So you're not only validating that, yes, we've got our fixed asset here, it's where it's supposed to be, and here's a picture of it on this date that has been captured all within that mobile app, easily on your phone, integrated into Dynamics 365, all included with your Microsoft subscriptions there. And for those that have been utilizing maybe older versions of Microsoft Dynamics and have some of your favorite third-party products, a lot of those continue to be supported and work well on the latest versions of Dynamics 365 for existing ISVs and other tools on the App Store app to be able to extend the use of Dynamics 365. And while we will be focused and talking mostly about the financial aspects today, just a quick update that Dynamics 365, the finance component, also has a supply chain management availability as well for truly managing your procurement processes, your inventory and warehousing processes if you need. If you're selling goods out and you're shipping those and need to track the transportation of all of that, the logistics and supply chain functionality is very deep, all part of that same ERP. But today we will be focused on the financial applications themselves. And while we often talk about it ourselves, we are proud of the fact that some of the third-party industry research continues to show that the Microsoft ERP and the enterprise level, where Dynamics 365 Finance really fits well, is one of the best, if not the best, on the market today. And we're very proud of seeing other people do that research, coming to the same conclusions that we have ourselves, and really being able to help our customers utilize the greatest of the Microsoft technology in a way that fits their industry and their expertise. But specifically, when we look at some of the functionality inside of the system, the finance functionality, we're talking about true robust financial and budget management. So you're not only talking about things like budget controls to ensure that when requests or other transactions are in place, they can double check different budget thresholds or things that you have configured so that your users know right at their fingertips when they want to submit a request, where are they in their budget? Do they have funds available? Will this put me over budget? And being able to help through all that, while also giving you some of the tools you might need for creating that budget to begin with. Having your departments put in their budget requests on that annual or quarterly basis to then roll through your different workflows to ensure that people have reviewed that and be able to not only use the budgets once they're in place, but use the system to establish those budgets to begin with. And being able to track your specific projects and grants and the association of those. If you have grants that are funding your projects, who's working on those projects and what is our budgets for that? That might be different from your final general ledger fiscal year budget as well. And then for organizations, especially where you have maybe a tribal government in your different enterprises, or even in the commercial business, if you have multiple legal entities that all need to roll up for reporting, for council or board members or folks at a high level, being able to truly use that multi-entity functionality and then consolidate that in reporting. So users that should be able to see the information across the entities can do so, while still being able to lock down the individual businesses or entities inside the system to make sure that users that are focused just in that entity aren't seeing data across the board if they're not authorized to do so. And as we talked about earlier, providing the best of security out there with the Microsoft Cloud and their data center protection, including those that need the compliance aspects of the Government Community Cloud or the GCC, the availability of finance in that as well. And then the upgrades, unlimited support, and maintenance included with the Arctic Ascend agreements that we have, being able to make sure that you stay up to date on the latest versions. Because while it is a cloud solution, your data is not shared with any others in Dynamics 365. It is not a multi-tenant database. So that means that your database only holds your information, and it is your database. You have full access and control for your information to be able to copy that to other databases, to data warehouses, or back it up to on-prem locations that you might want to ensure that you have full control over what happens with your data, and being able to control when your system is updated within a time frame that Microsoft has available to make sure that it really still is just your environment, even though the updates and the maintenance and everything is managed by Arctic IT and Microsoft. Again, so you don't have to worry about that, but giving you full access and control where is necessary. And because it is a Microsoft solution, the interface within that feels familiar for a lot of people. And we'll see that in a minute, where some of the navigation and usage can feel similar to Outlook and Excel and Word, some of the most commonly used applications in the world, so that it feels more unified throughout the use of the various applications and productivity tools that your employees utilize. When it comes to Dynamics 365 Finance, there's a lot of great functionality out there, but is it the right fit for your organization? At its whole, just remembering that D365 Finance is an enterprise level tool. So what that means is if you're a really small organization with only a handful of people in finance, it's probably going to be cost prohibitive for you to maintain and make best use of. So we often recommend that if your finance team is fewer than 15 people, it still might be a good fit, but you really need to take a good look and make sure that it fits within your financial goals and other areas going forward because of the complexity of the solution. Because it is geared very well towards organizations that have operational complexity to ensure that the right levels of internal controls are followed, the right processes are enforced, and policies are enforced throughout it, which is phenomenal for organizations of the right size and fit. Might be a little cumbersome for really small organizations where you have one or two people wearing lots of different hats, right? But if you are looking for, if you have kind of some operational complexity of a finance team of about 15 or more folks, of at least 15 folks, and then also if you're looking to manage and oversee your enterprise, the entirety of your government or commercial enterprises in a unified application or unified ERP, then Dynamics 365 Finance very likely would be a great fit for you. But if we go back to that idea of building a home, where we kind of started the analogy earlier today, we kind of have, just like with a home, we have kind of two ways that we often recommend implementing Dynamics 365. If you have a great lot and you're ready to build a house, you might call or talk to some builders that have 3 or 4 have a floor plan that fits that lot really, really well. They know exactly, it's got the 4 bedrooms, two bathrooms, large garage, and you have a few different options for the types of countertops and those things that you might want, right? But it is a model home that allows you to get a great home up quickly in a wonderful lot that you have, so you can move your family in and begin to use it. And then over time, maybe add on to that home or add the additional features going forward in the futures. That's what we call a streamlined finance implementation. where it's a set-based fixed fee implementation cost. There's some few optional modules there, but allows us to implement the solution faster because we're using templates, best practices approach of things that we've built over the years with that preset functionality to help you get into that home quickly, start making good use of what you have available, and then build upon that in the future. But there are times when man, maybe you're ready to build the home of your dreams, right? So you talk to a custom home builder and you walk through in depth. You spend a lot of time with that home builder, lining out exactly what you want in the system to truly understand your in-depth requirements to make sure that when you move into that home, it's the home of your dreams and you've got what you want, right? That obviously is going to take a lot more time and it's going to cost a lot more money, but you're going to get exactly what you need. Sometimes that is the right approach with a financial ERP as well, and we can kind of help you determine what might be the best fit for you, whether that's that streamlined approach or whether that's more of a custom configuration approach. The system works well for that. And Xochitl, this might be an area where you can talk about because I know you all kind of wound up somewhere in between.
Correct. We're somewhere in between, and we started the implementation in August of 2022, and we went live the first week of January 2023. So we had a very short window. We were looking for a custom approach, but we went somewhere in between because even as going live January 1st, there were some items that we wanted customized, and we were able to get those customized. So we're doing at this point in time, a two-phase approach. In our first phase, we implemented purchasing, our accounts payable, our accounts receivable, our general ledger, our banking, regular financial statements. And in our phase 2, we're going to be working on budgeting, expense management, and fixed assets. But even though it was customized on some of those items, we were able to get it done within that short window.
Well, I appreciate that insight. And I'm sure you would say that you wouldn't necessarily recommend to a lot of organizations trying to get a new system in place in 3 or 4 months, but that was a big kudos to your team as well, just rolling up the sleeves and getting into the system, saying we need to focus on this implementation to get it done in time. And so it was a lot of work, but a lot of that fell on you and your team being able to make those tough choices and help get it ready.
Right, and thank you for that. But one of the items that, if the decision to go with Arctic IT and Dynamics 365 was made before I started employment with the tribe, but it was actually one of my recommendations at another tribe. But so the decision was already made. If I had my choice, it would have been nice if we would have had longer time for the implementation, because 5 months was a very short window for everybody, not just my staff, but also Arctic IT staff. There was a lot of work involved, but we were able to get it done, which was great for everybody. But additional time would have been preferred.
Absolutely. And if you'll kind of forgive my continued use of that kind of home building process. Mm-hmm. Sometimes if you're moving into a model home or a pre-built home, right? You might have some furniture with you that just doesn't fit well in that home. And in my analogy, I kind of think about the processes, that maybe some of the business processes or things that have always been done in a certain way, which might not fit your new home super well. And so that's where I think your team also being able to say what processes are really important to us that we need to maintain and maybe do some custom configuration, but where might we be able to make use of the new furniture, the new processes that are supported really well within a new ERP, and then be able to move into that more quickly.
And one of the items that's helped us, we've only been on this maybe 5 to 6 weeks, so we're still doing a lot of learning on this, but the workflows have been very helpful. In the past, we had a lot of manual processes, so if someone was trying to determine where a vendor invoice was in the process, where a check was in the process, there were a lot of tracking employees down. Now with the workflows, the actual director or employee is able to go into the system and track that workflow to find out exactly where it is, then find out that information for themselves, which It is a learning curve, but it's, you know, with time they're able to make that determination, which also helps them that they're able to answer their questions quicker than trying to reach someone in the department and trying to track it down the manual way. So the workflows are great.
Well, terrific. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if in the back of your mind you're already wondering, you know, what might be in that streamlined approach that might make sense for us. Typically, that streamlined approach includes this set of functionality that most organizations want to make use of, right? You know, things like your general ledger, of course, accounts payable with electronic payments, your requisitions and workflow and management of purchase orders. Some areas where some folks don't need accounts receivable. On some of the government side, there might not be much need for much accounts receivable. Other organizations, it might drive a large part of their business. Right? Similar things with budget controls and encumbrance tracking. You know, a number of our maybe gaming customers or other for-profit commercial customers might not need much in that regard, where a government focus has a lot of that in there, right? So this is typically where things would start as a, you know, does this scope kind of fit what is most important to you? Maybe you need to bring in fixed assets or grant tracking or some other areas as well. And if being able to implement these modules in a shorter time frame with a lot of that out-of-the-box configuration, then you can get into a solution, even an enterprise class solution like Dynamics 365, in a more cost-effective and more timely manner, especially if you're at a point where you need to make a move soon to really be able to take advantage of the efficiencies that your organization really needs, or if you have some sort of driving force, like your existing system is going out of support and you can't risk what might happen if your system crashes, that sort of thing. And again, I mean, Xochitl, you've already been great just providing some insights and answering some questions. Again, kind of reintroducing you in here. Again, thank you for taking your time. And if you wouldn't mind me just asking you a couple of questions. You've already answered some of these about why you know, that a lot of that decision about Dynamics 365 was made before you got there. But now, having come on right as the project was about to start, what has, you know, overall, beyond some of the aspects you've already shared, what have you liked about the software and even, you know, the implementation process up till this point?
As far as the implementation process, working with Arctic IT, we had a couple conversions going on at the same time, and Arctic IT was meeting with us on a daily basis. You know, we had regularly scheduled calls, which made everybody on our side feel at ease, feel better about the implementation. We actually missed those daily calls, but the daily calls were great because we all knew what we needed to get done and staying on task. That was great. As far as one of the items that we also liked on the Arctic IT portion, and this is comparing it to another implementation we had going on at the same time, is the staff we were working on and did the training, basically trained the trainer on our side. They provided us quick reference guides, what they're referred to as QRGs, for the training, for the power user trainings, which we in turn use to train our directors and staff, which was great because we didn't have to try to figure out the system and then write procedures to do things. That was very helpful and continues to be helpful, that we're able to take those QRGs and modify them. We're currently using them mainly in our procurement and processing for our accounts payable system. But as we go into the other areas, those QRGs are provided to us by Arctic IT without even asking for them. We're starting our first month end, and we have a scheduled meeting with staff from Arctic IT next week, so they can go through the closing process with us, and QRGs will be provided. That's been very helpful. And like I say, comparing it to another conversion, we haven't had that, and that's just been very helpful because we're able to share that with everybody. In addition to that, the training that was conducted, training the trainer, those were recorded sessions. So we have those that we can refer back to, and also when we were training staff, those could be used for the training, and we can always go back to those if we need a refresher. That's been great. As far as the implementation, I think if it was a longer span of time as opposed to the short window of 5 months, that would have been preferred, but we just had the 5 months and that was able to work out. One of the items I would recommend for the individuals that are on this webinar is I'm the project manager for the tribe on this conversion, but what's been very helpful on our side is having a dedicated employee overseeing the transition, where it's a she's a go-to person. If anybody has any questions, she's the one overseeing it. She's becoming the D365 guru. Having one person oversee this that knows exactly what's going on, and also she's a point person with Arctic IT staff. So the Arctic IT knows exactly who to go and reach out to if there's any questions. That's been very helpful. As I mentioned earlier, we're doing a 2-phase approach. Our second phase, which we've actually already had our meeting the first week in February, will encompass budgeting, because budgeting, as Matt was saying earlier, it's very important that for directors and everybody to track the budgets. And not just that, in addition to being able to generate financial reports, budget to actual reports of the budgets that are implemented. I don't know about everybody else on the call, but a lot of that reporting on our side has been done via an Excel version, which is very time consuming. So when budgets are uploaded, we'll be able to generate reports, and there's some canned reports already in the system that we've already started working with and playing with as much as we can. The next part that we're looking to implement in phase 2 is expense management. We have a lot of staff that travel, which is all reconciled by hand. So we're looking to implement the expense management portion and also the fixed asset portion, because all of these, basically everything that I've mentioned, has been done via Excel.
That's terrific. I thank you for kind of sharing your experience and the insight there, and just how your team has really worked well with our implementation team to really kind of facilitate that change management aspect, as you said, especially since it was happening so quickly. Being able to do a little bit of a hybrid approach with some of that initial streamlined aspects to get you utilizing what you needed quickly, but then being able to roll on some of the additional things like expense management and travel requisitions and those things later on, which will make a big impact for your user community as a whole.
Yes.
Well, with that, why don't we take about 10 minutes here to just showcase some of the general functionality in Dynamics 365, then make sure we still have some time at the end for some questions. So as I'm going, Xochitl, if there's anything that you have that you want to chime in or share about a feature I'm showing, please feel free to do so at any point. As you see now, my system is refreshing as I'm logging into Dynamics 365. And here again, I'm just using Google Chrome via a URL to access the system. I don't have to re-log in because I'm already logged in to our tools, the Microsoft Active Directory, which gives me access onto our network or the other resources we're doing, but also the cloud resources like Dynamics 365. So I don't have to maintain separate usernames and passwords, and just really streamlines the use of the application and the administration of it.
Matt, that is a very nice feature. It might not seem like it's a nice feature, but it is, because just the individual logs on to their computer, and once they open this, they're able to just get into the system, which just makes it user-friendly.
Thank you. And you mentioned the QRGs, so and the quick reference guides, which really are such a helpful use of the system. And some of those, a big piece of that is the actual guide and document that you might print out or follow or save someplace. But a lot of those can be used inside the system itself. And this is one of my favorite features of Dynamics 365. It's what is called the task recorder. This is how we even originally start creating those quick reference guides. And that is by just performing a process in the system. Then once you've done that initial recording, you can play back to help guide a user on screen through the process. So if I say play one of those recordings as a guide, see a task guide, that quick reference guide, I've got a simple one out here that I use quite a bit for running a general ledger trial balance. Maybe a user is kind of new, you've got a new GL account in place, they want to run some trial balances as they're going in, they don't remember how to do so. We can use with these saved guides out here. Just gonna open it and start it. And it pops up on screen and tells me how to go ahead and run that. It's also showing the script over here, which is what we kind of use to start that quick reference guide document itself. It's telling me to go to General Ledger. So if I go to Modules and General Ledger, then Inquiries and Reports and Trial Balance. So it kind of pops up on the screen and lets me know how to get there. But once I'm there, it doesn't just, I don't have to keep following a script directly. It shows me what to do. Now this is a pretty simple usage, right? It's saying go ahead and pick the date that you want to start. Some of my demonstration data is a couple years old here, so I'm running this for a previous year. Pick the end date. Pick the financial dimension set. This is a way of kind of organizing the hierarchy of your financial data that you want to run a report for. So in this case, I'm telling it to include my main accounts, my funds and departments, but maybe I want to include cost centers or programs or other aspects that are part of our general ledger, or I want to roll those up. In this case, I'm going to confirm that yes, I want that main account, fund and department. Then when I click calculate, it's going to go ahead and run that trial balance. So that quick reference guide, while it helps create things to help facilitate training, they can also be used in the system itself to kind of guide you through running that process, to kind of combine the training and the documentation with on-screen guides. And then once you've run the trial balance, you can interact with your data. This sort of functionality is kind of like filtering or you're running reports inside of Excel directly, where maybe I'm filtering, I only want the finance department, because I ran this as a whole. I added that finance department filter where I can see my trial balance by main account, fund and department. But then this data isn't static. It's just not like an on-screen printed report or anything. If I want to know where this interfund receivable for $200 came from, I can go ahead and drill down into that, and it's going to take me to that transaction. I can see it was just a test journal entry that was input here, but where it is creating and showing me where that data came from just by running a quick trial balance. Or even taking that a step further, if we go back to my home screen here, I briefly mentioned earlier the idea of a workspace. And a workspace being just kind of ways that processes are organized and data and reports can be organized in Dynamics 365 for quick access for users that are focused in that area. The first one on my list here is bank management. So if I was in charge of maybe bank reconciliations or bank transaction processing or just checking on our bank balances, I can do this all kind of in one spot. I could come in here, maybe import that bank statement, as Xochitl and team will be starting here just next week as they're closing out their first month end in the system, right? Importing those bank statements and running through the reconciliation process, or just seeing some reports on their where their bank balances are at. I'm kind of zoomed in here, so it's a little bit scrunched, but maybe I see, okay, where does my operating account balance? And again, some of my demonstration data is a little bit old, but I can see kind of a day-to-day balance. But this little dashboard and graph is not static, right? If I wanted to drill in and see where did this huge drop-off come from, I can go ahead and click on the graph itself, and it's going to bring me up the transactions on that date and around that date so I can see what happened. So now I've got a similar list of information, or a way of displaying the information that we saw in that trial balance, where I can go ahead and add filters and totals and subgroups and other things in here. But maybe specifically, if someone asked, hey, I saw we had a check hit for $500,000. Where did that come from? Yeah, that was check 698. So I can go ahead and just put that filter in, or I could search and find that. But once I'm there, again, this isn't giving me a whole lot of information, but I could drill down to see where this came from. Right, if I click on the checks detail here, it's going to show me the status of it, that it's been paid and cleared. But maybe I want to add some more columns, right? I want to know exactly who this went to, what type of recipient was it. Here I've got like the recipient name, recipient type. Add this here. So now I can see, as we would expect, right, this check for $500,000 went to a vendor, and the vendor was Fabricam Electronics. But what did it pay for? Really quickly with that as well, anytime you add filters, searches, little ad hoc queries in the system, if that's the way that you want to see that data going forward, or you want access to that quickly, you can come out here and you can save different views and searches that you've made, so that later you can come in and you can even set that as your default view, so that you don't have to make those changes to that view or those reports going forward, right? They're already there saved for you to be able to access at any time. But at this point, let me go in and see what invoices this $500,000 check paid for. And I see it's just one, invoice 8, in my demonstration data, but still it's not giving me a lot of information. Let me go and see the actual original documents.
Matt, as you're searching through that, that's one of the features that we really like, the fact that we're attaching invoices. So when we're drilling down into something like this, we're able to actually see the invoice that's being paid.
Right. So when I see I see the invoice, but I also see the purchase order that invoice was tied to, right? So maybe I want to take a look at that initial purchase order. So even though I just started at a bank balance graph on my workspace there, I could drill down and see here's a $500,000 purchase order for a new speaker system that maybe we're putting in our casino arena or something like that. I can see details of your workflow history, who reviewed and approved it. To Xochitl's example there, I can see attachments that were made. So I could see a copy maybe of the purchase order document. In this case, some technical information behind what we were purchasing. Giving that data at your user's fingertips, so they're not having to hunt around, ask people for it, but just starting at that bank balance, right? I could drill down and see additional information. And beyond that, I mentioned earlier about Power BI and embedded reports and available things. There are a number of dashboards and stuff that are available, analytics that are available when you deploy Dynamics 365. Some of those will fit great. They're just great out-of-the-box dashboards that you want. But for those of you that really enjoy the idea of deeper analytics, you can connect your Dynamics 365 data with Power BI to be able to create any sort of analysis reports, analytics, dashboards, and then be able to publish those back into the system if you want to run those right from inside of Dynamics 365. While also giving access to folks externally of the system if you want to be able to run their own reports or access dashboards maybe in board meetings or council meetings right from there without having to go into the system if they're authorized to see that data. So at this financial overview, I'm getting just a view of budget to actuals at a high level. My trial balances rolled up by main by main account categories here. But maybe I want to drill down and actually even see a budget to actual by year here. So let me click on that, and I don't have much for this year in my demonstration system. So I'm going to go ahead and let's run this for previous years. And now I have a simple income statement, budget to actual at a high level by fiscal year, based upon the account categories that are there, just from a dashboard view. So I can see things like my analytics and other aspects, while also diving in and seeing some specific budget to actual income statement reports, just to help support the true financial statement reporting and budget to actuals that can be made available for end users, as Xochitl has been talking about being a big impact for their organization. Now with that, I could spend, and I have oftentimes spent full days talking with organizations and our customers about the system, all the features and functionality available. But there is so much in here from that is included with your subscription. We've talked about some of the high level aspects in there as well, but things like expense management, as you talked about earlier, being something that your team is looking forward to. Asset management being more than just fixed assets, but being able to have work orders and work order maintenance and inventory and scheduled preventative maintenance features for maybe some of those key enterprise assets that are so integral to your organization. Being able to manage your inventory, retail and e-commerce, as we talked about, just a very robust system that when you've got a partner like Arctic IT to help you make best use of that, train your team on it and implement that in a way, and then help you support it going forward to truly take that big ERP investment you're making and ensure that it is a worthwhile investment for years to come for your organization. So with that, it kind of ends just our sneak peek. Again, with the ERP system, you could spend hours diving through the deep functionality. And if that's something that you're interested in, please do let us know. We'd be happy to talk more in depth about your specific needs and how and help you evaluate whether or not Dynamics 365 and Arctic IT are the right fit for your organization. So with that being said, we've got a few minutes left here in our time. Joanne, I think we'll open it up for questions.
Okay, there was one question that came through for Xochitl. Earlier, you mentioned workflows were a game changer, and they wanted to know, can you elaborate on workflows by sharing which ones were most impactful?
The one that's currently being used the most is our requisitions. Our purchase requisitions are entered, and they're entered normally by, I want to say, the administrative assistant with the department, and they flow up to we have different thresholds as far as approval levels are concerned. So they go from the administrative assistant to the director, and then based on that threshold, it goes to the additional individuals that need to approve that. That was always done manually before, so that's really improved the processes. And also, if the administrative assistant entered something a week ago and she's not sure where it is, she can go into the system and see exactly where it sits. Who does it sit with? Does it still sit with the director, or does it sit with say myself, to find out exactly where that requisition sits? And they can follow up with that individual, asking them if they, can approve it, or maybe it was just an oversight. That's really improved everything. What we had before, we had a manual process for the most part. Things would get approved electronically, but then we would have to enter them into our accounting system. So we're no longer doing that. It's just all electronic.
Excellent, wonderful. Okay, does anybody have any other questions? You can either put it in the chat or you can raise your hand and I will unmute you and you can ask a question.
Can I make one other comment? The only additional comment I have is expect this to be a roller coaster. That's the way it felt from the get-go. There were some days that were great, some days that were not. And it's just a matter of sticking with it. I know I think it's all worth it, but it is a roller coaster. I have not heard of anything actually going 100% with no issues, and that I just want to make certain everyone is aware of the fact that it is a roller coaster.
Yes, if you ask some retiring finance directors, controllers, CFOs, some of the longest years of their life, right? ERP migrations and stuff will sometimes bubble up to the top, right?
Absolutely. Okay, well, with that, I want to thank our presenters. That was a great presentation, and I want to extend a thank you to everyone who has joined us on the call. Please remember the presentation is being recorded, so you will have a link within 24 hours. And with that, we actually have 2 minutes left. We will wrap it up, and I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.